Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Even though we start just a little bit late, but we here. Welcome to another edition, to another installment of Hashtag Fade to Black. I am your host, Donnell Lamonte Morris, here with the Neil Joke, aka T. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you, Danielle?
I'm doing good. Beast will be joining us a little bit later, and y'all already know, man, he's going to be coming in, bro, man, for the fifth floor. As I say, money never sleeps. So we're going to be diving into these controversies of Kwame Brown and also Joe Budden, but also in general of how people don't understand that when you throw rocks, don't forget that you live in a glass house. So we're just going to jump on in into the opening statements, and I will take the lead. But before we do that, I would like to say our sponsor for the whole show today will be from Sky Zone Society. And with that, let's go ahead and jump on in. So we're here for the opening statements, and I just want to jump in on Kwame Brown. So for anybody who don't know anything about the story, it's been a viral story all on YouTube. Ex-pro player Kwame Brown has been on a tear, and rightfully so. It's just a case of when you talk behind my back and I hear about it, I'm going to confront you. And that's what's happening here. Even though it's many years too late, but like they say, better late than never. So we're going to be talking about that. So I'm not going to jump too much on that part. It's just the other factor that's really ticking me off. It's people. And it's not just this story. It's many hot viral stories in general, where you just got people that just post the same damn video just for clout chasing. So when Brown started these vignettes, let's call for what it is, vignettes, on people that has been bashing his career and bashing him as a player and also as a man, a lot of y'all know who I'm talking to, just put this video on your YouTube, or you just started your YouTube channel just thinking that you're the news. And this is what falls into what I was what I said on Friday on the opening statements about the new black media. Just because you posted on your YouTube channel does not make you the news. Now, it's a difference if you've been doing this for a while, that you do be posting videos like this when you started, or that's where your target audience and your target content is. That's a different story. But if your past content is uploading anime, or you doing random stuff that barely cracks 100 views, then you clout chase. Because majority of these videos, which unfortunately I actually shared it to one of our panelists who are going to be talking about it too as well, it's from one of these clout chasers, where they post these videos up and they at the end go support the channel, go support me at the Cash App. When you don't have no content that is connected to what you do. It's all over the place. And it just pains me when we go out of our way and do things like this. And it just makes the matter worse. And I'm surprised that nobody is posting videos of Steven Jackson, who Kwame Brown came at, posted videos of Steven Jackson saying that they patched things up. None of y'all is not showing that video. Y'all still showing video of, Kwame, he owns this person, he owned that person. He telling it like it is, and then some of y'all just put titles up for clickbait. Oh, he's talking about the secret society within the NBA. Like, really? And then you just look at the video and it says nothing about that. Nothing at all. Just clout chasing for no reason. Just for you to get a buck. That's not how you make a living. So for anybody that watches mess like that, do yourself a service. Do yourself a good deed. Look at the content before this and see what they are really trying to do. See what they're really all about. Because if that content that they posted out, let's say yesterday, does it go in line with the content that they've been posting in the past? Time for you to kick rocks. Because you're doing yourself a disservice. And for y'all clout chasers, y'all are doing a disservice. And I really sincerely hope that the chickens come home to roost for you. And that if Kwame Brown starts suing y'all or start giving y'all strikes for using his content, I hope he gives y'all 3 strikes and get y'all kicked off permanently. And that y'all don't make not 1 cent. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Because they give a disservice to the people on this show and as well as people that have been putting in the work that does shows like these or been doing shows on YouTube and putting up great content. But they can't because of people like you. And that, I yield the floor.
Good evening, everyone. You know, they say that the children are our future. Let the elders teach them well, that they may lead the way. Tomorrow is May the 25th, and that day is significant in the African world, the Pan-African world, because that is Africa Day, Africa Independence Day. This is the day that was set aside to celebrate Africa being liberated. So in light of that, when I think about the elders, when I think about freedom, when I think about colonization and what it meant and the impact that it had on Africa, I think about the children. I think about what type of world are they being raised in that they would have equal opportunity to be their best, to exemplify the best of their countries. And when I think about the independence of the African nations, most of them are as old as me, just under 60, and some a little older than me, maybe 61, 62. So what I'm finding is that the leaders over the last 55 plus years, they were thoroughly trained under the colonizer. Let me explain. As a youth coming up, taking their first and second degrees and even terminal degrees, they had their training when their country was colonized. So as they come to age and they begin to take power, they began to make the same decisions for the people that their colonizers would make for them, which means that the resources, the people of the resources are mismanaged. The people are disadvantaged. Oftentimes, the communities are still poor, even though their land is resource rich. So, what is the lesson that the youth can take if they would study their elders, if they listen to their elders and they watch their elders and watch the mistakes that's made? What are some of the things that can prompt them to go into a different direction. Now, I just want to give two examples of bad leadership after colonization. And this took place in the country of Sierra Leone approximately 1 week ago. The government officials had something in their mind. Exactly what, I cannot tell at this point, but I want you to follow with me. So the government of Sierra Leone entered into a contract that would sell 250 acres of coastline, the beach, and the rainforest to the Chinese for $55 million. Now tell me which country would allow another country to come and purchase their land, become owners of their land, and the natives around the land that's on the land have to be evicted off the land, and they become foreigners in their own land, foreigners to their own inheritance. Now, 250 acres is a lot of land. I don't know how many miles that is in terms of beach or waterways, but the officials, all they saw was we can get $55 million. They failed to see how they had 250 acres of land that if they properly develop that land with the people, the water produce fish. And that's what the Chinese are going to do. They're going to fish in that water. The forest, most likely they're going to take the different types of insects, the different types of frogs and amphibian life and whatever things that Sierra Leone people do not eat. And they probably will harvest them and sell back to China. The Chinese saw an opportunity to get the land and make a perpetual income for itself, for its people. Now, I have witnessed the Chinese going into various countries and they will buy up land or get possession of certain parcels of land, and it'll be a whole Chinese community. They will bring over the laundry people, the restaurant people, the hair and nails people, the mechanics, the Chinese doctors. They will build a Chinese hospital, a Chinese school. They will do everything that the Chinese community needs and not actually depend on that African land for anything except for that land. And they will build wealth. The poorest of the Chinese will come into that acquisition. They will establish a business and be able to send money back home. Now I ask you, is that good governance? Isn't that what the colonizer did with Africa? It set up shop, it created jobs for its people, and all the money goes back to the mainland. Now, when the Europeans colonized Africa, they didn't pay, they just took. The Chinese are buying their way in, but the end result is the same thing. The Africans become dispossessed of the land, which is a dispossession of their inheritance, which is a dispossession of them creating their own economy, benefiting from the natural resources of the fish and seafood and sea life in the waters, as well as the life that's found in the forest. So when we think about the elders teaching the children, government officials, I have to ask you, is that a good lesson to teach your children, your inheritance? When they grow up, at one point they used to be able to go to this beach, but now it's a privately owned beach by a corporation held outside of the land. They can't go swim and fish and earn a living. I have to ask the elders, what are you thinking? No, I have a better question. Are you thinking? Because the fish is there, the wildlife is there. For the Africans that are not employed, they can become fishermen and they can sell that same fish back to China, thereby creating an industry for your own people. How can you allow people from the outside to come in and take over and sell the fish? I mean, gather the same fish in the lake, sea, river, and now sell it back to your people when your people could virtually get that same fish for free and sell to the community. We have to think about self-preservation. The Chinese, they're very populous people. They have overpopulated their geographical region and they're constantly looking for places that they can put down roots for their very survival. But their very survival depends upon the demise of the African community. So I ask again, was it so hard that the government couldn't get behind and develop businesses or allow business opportunities to thrive and someone open up that international channel to sell that same fish that the Chinese are going to get and gather from the waters and send it back to China that their people may eat? The Africans should be in control of that. They are not properly managing the God given natural resources. And the second item that I want to talk about, because tomorrow is Independence Day, and it makes me wonder, what is the definition, what is the functioning definition of independence when I see things like this? Now, about 2 weeks ago, the country of Ghana got a little smart, but not fully smart. They had years ago entered into a transaction that brought over Chinese engineers. And someone said, okay, we need our engineers. They have gone, they have trained. Our own Ghanaian engineers are unemployed. Let us remove the Chinese engineers and let us employ our people so our people can believe in us and trust in us. And they did that, and I applaud that effort. But here is the problem with taking the Chinese off the rolls and adding the Ghanaian, the local engineer, giving him a job in his own country. They were able to save $3.5 million each month. Now, multiply 3.5 times 12, and you get an annual number of how much money they could save. Now, here is my problem. They can now save $3.5 million a month because they have chosen to hire their own engineers by devaluing them, by not giving them a competitive living wage. Hear what I said. I applaud them for employing their own people, but I cannot agree with cheating those same people out of a living wage. There is proof that they paid the Chinese workers $3.5 million more each month. Even if they brought it down to 2 million, that would be a better wage for the Ghanaian workers. Even if they brought it to half, 1.75 million to save, it's still a substantial amount of money when it was already in the budget to pay those salaries. So the Ghanaian who goes to school within the country and those that travel abroad, the ones that travel abroad would be more likely to stay abroad because they heard through the grapevine, one, when the Chinese workers were there, they could not get employed. And two, now that the Chinese workers are gone, you can get employed, but we, the Ghanaian government or a private institution, will not pay you your worth. We will not pay you a competitive salary, which leads to those that will learn outside of the country to stay outside of the country because they can get a better wage. So when I think about independence, are the African countries in the frame of mind to be totally independent and free thinking without the self uh, abashed cheating or feel that African labor is less than, is worth than. I mean, it's less than what it's worth. It can be denigrated. It is subject to be downgraded. It's subject to be um, scoffed at. I applaud all day long putting the African to work, but then at the same time cheating. And I know that engineer that may have graduated a year ago, 5 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, is happy to get a job in his field. I know he's happy, but at the same time, I know he feels cheated. So as we embark upon African independence, let the youth learn the lesson from the elders. Let's learn how to negotiate contracts that will benefit the community. Now, this last contract with Ghana, it benefits the community. Because no doubt the monies that were being made by the Chinese were all going out of the country. At least if they hire and pay a living wage, a good wage for their engineers, that can stir the economy within the community. We have to think about how to preserve ourselves. During the slave trade, the Europeans became wealthy because exploiting the labor of the African in the Americas. They went on to exploit the African in his home under colonization. And now that we are free, we claim our independence. Let's think independently. Let's think how to create jobs and opportunities and put our people to work. giving everyone an opportunity to have a better life. And this is my opening statement, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I yield the floor.
Hey, family, how y'all doing? So, opening statement. Good evening tonight. I'm probably gonna be a lot MIA video today. Y'all will hear my voice. Just got in from running 4 miles. I do a day. I would just say what my message was because I try to make a message when I'm running every day that I could put out there to people. And yeah, today's message was make consistency your contingency, and that means that whatever you want to have, well, pretty much what make sure that whatever activities that you want to do, make it that being consistent in those activities is a contingent to do with the activity. So to do the activity, make consistency the contingent. So and that means in the sense of like if you have a objective, make that objective routine to the point where that goal becomes your next objective. And I know that's deep because like of course your goal is supposed to be the big thing. That big thing becomes a little thing. You just do it every day. So definitely is I like to give those kind of inspiration type thing when I run. And I did that message to them Instagram and Facebook as well. Good evening to everybody. So reason why I'm MIA on video is because my allergies kicked in. My allergies told me, well, how dare you think you're gonna run every day, especially as much as we getting into this thick summer or spring. But my allergies is bothering me real bad. Eyes are watery and all kind of stuff. So, and I'm in a sweaty t-shirt right now. So definitely, I'm gonna stay off the camera today. But I'm live here with you guys. Good evening, everybody.
And like that, we are back. Mayo came in at the last second. Welcome to the show, Mayo. Mayo, hello.
Hey, what's up, family? What's up, family?
Hey, you came at the last minute, so I was like, oh, okay, cool. Gotta get you in.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely. Love it.
before we get into the topic at hand, teach what you were saying about Africa, because that was a post that was sent by Mayo, and I actually had to sit back, was like thinking to myself, like, really, like they've been coming into Africa, buying up land, and it was correct me if I'm wrong. Not only just Chiefs, but also you too, Mayo, and then also anybody who's watching, you can chime in too as well. Was these loans accepted by the countries within Africa were, is it a handful of countries that's been doing this, or just like just onesies and twosies here and there?
It's pretty widespread. The last time that I was in Angola was in 2012, and I don't know if you remember the coverage, but the government had created an opportunity for the Chinese to come in and build these houses, beautiful neighborhoods, beautiful. We went and explored them, and everything was written in Chinese, the signs, everything. And so they had a big press conference with the president. He was urging the Angolans to go and, buy these houses that the Chinese had built. And
Mhm.
the question was, why aren't the native Angolans gravitating towards these beautiful neighborhoods? And me being sarcastic, being silly, me being American, I looked at something that would not happen in America, and that was the signage. Every sign that would tell you how to get to the neighborhood or whatever, it was all in Chinese. Now, Angola is a Portuguese speaking country. I don't read Portuguese, but I know Chinese when I see it.
Right.
so,
That's fair.
so, so I'm looking at the signs, and we actually went to the office, uh, and everything is in Chinese.
That's
That's
So
crazy.
insane.
the
Yeah.
government wasn't doing its due diligence with this Chinese takeover to make sure that it was in the native language, or at least the official language. So the people, they see Chinese and they keep going. It did not compute. So me saying, in America that would not happen. In certain parts of the country, Billy Bob and them, they would have dragged and tore down the sign and
Oh
say
yeah.
English only, speak English, write
Right,
Right.
right,
in
right.
English.
Or burn down the town.
And even if government has become more diverse in that if they send out any correspondence, they'll send it out in English. You can flip it over and you can get Spanish, or I believe another one is Somalian. And they're becoming more diverse, but you got to get English first. So that's
Oh
what I
wow.
see as the problem, is that they did not communicate in the language of the people. And with so
Right.
doing, the people were not pressed to go into these neighborhoods, and they were beautiful. But me, another thing I said, which might be wrong, and because it was in Chinese, I imitated a Asian speaking person, and I read the sign to say, "This is for Chinese. No nigger will live here."
I mean,
Wow.
So
truth.
because I don't
Truth
know
is the
Chinese, I don't
truth.
know what the sign said, but you know, it was
Right. It could
indicative
say
of, right. It could say anything. If you did not read Chinese or whatever the actual language was, if you don't know it, you don't know it.
right.
So
Yeah.
there was no Portuguese there. Definitely there was no English. There was no Spanish on the sign. And so that's when I first really began to notice how much African governments would invest in foreigners to do what their own people can do. Another thing that I seen while I was in Angola was that they were building the roads. Okay, they were building the roads, and it was the Mexicans building the roads in Angola. Now you always hear the story of the poor African can't make a living, this, that, and the other. But the Chinese, they were doing the building blocks, or the cinder, what we call cinder blocks, and these were the cinder blocks that they were utilizing to make and build the houses. So the Chinese controlled the process from the building blocks to the finishing materials of these houses, and the government was paying them. Now, I don't know much about building blocks, but I know it takes like water and cement and mix it up and have a mold, and boom, you have a block. Could not the Angolan people created those blocks or had companies that create those blocks? All the building block companies were Chinese or Asian. I would say Asian because I don't know the difference between the various races of the people. And so from that, from the building blocks to the finishing materials for the house to be erected to be sold, it was all in the Chinese hands or the Asian hands. Okay. For building of the roads, they were all Mexican. And there's some town, some place you thought you were in Mexico. I had to look around. I'm like, am I in Angola or am I in Mexico? Because everything that they needed, be it the bakery, be it the restaurant, the tire change place, the auto mechanic, they were all Mexican. They didn't do anything but come inside of Angola, create a camp, and do all the work. And these are governmental contracts. And I talked with one guy. He was actually from Los, and he was doing my nails. Had to get my nails done. And he said, "Oh, I don't like Angola." I said, "Why?" He said, "Oh, I just make my money and go back home." I said, "Well, how often do you go home?" He said, "Once a year." And I said, "Well, how long do you stay?" He said, "I stay for 3 months." I said, "So you make enough money in Africa, send money home on a regular basis, and can take a 3 month vacation? Africa is really good to you." He said, "Oh, yeah, I can make lots of money. I make more money than I can make in my country." And so there's opportunity there, but my question becomes, when will Africans take those same opportunities? When will they create those same opportunities for themselves? Um, Same thing with the Mexicans. That was a governmental contract. The country of Senegal, they discovered gold. And so they brought in foreign nationals to mine the gold. And the government wrote out a contract that said that the foreigners could come in, mine the gold. They only had to give the government of Senegal 10% of what they mined. And the foreign nationals would walk away with 90%. And I'm saying, no. If the foreign nationals wants a piece, this is the way the contract should be written. We may not be prepared to go in and mine gold, but what we can do, we can allow you to come in and train our people on all of the systems from top to bottom. And we'll have a 10-year stratification. 10 years, you get what you can get. Because after 10 years, we have our people thoroughly trained in every position up the chain, up to and including selling the gold. So we would do a phase out. Yes, you come in, but our people are going to come in. They're going to learn the equipment. They're going to know which equipment is good. They're going to know the system. They're going to know how to mine it. They're going to know how to refine it, whatever the process is, manufacture it. And in 10 years, you're out, and my people are firmly established to take over. So we're going to give you 10 years because this is just me. That's what I think it would take for our people to have a firm control over that market. Because we're going to let you come in and we're going to let you get what you get. But after 10 years, it is expired. You are out of here. So you get what you get. And we're going to get the learning experience. If we're not equipped to do that, that's what we're equipping ourselves to do. And it would be more like a 30-70 split. And 70 being us and 30 being you, because you're not at home.
this is, I mean, this is heartbreaking to hear. You know, you're selling yourself short. I mean, I think it's beyond selling yourself short. It's like you winning the game, but you convinced that you're losing.
Yeah,
Right.
And
it's not just African countries. It's the same in the Caribbean. Bahamas still pays tribute to the French. I don't know if you know that. You know, I mean, Bahamas still pays some kind of money to the French. I mean, you know, it's on a whole different level of just craziness. When you talk about all African countries, Caribbean countries, they still pay some money to the people who colonized them, and in other words, enslaved them. Colonization is made to make it sound like it's a nicer thing. It's another form of enslavement,
Yes,
and
it's an
you know, and
own
yeah,
land.
so it's that in your own land. That's exactly what that is. But we've made it sound cool because it's not demonized as much as slavery has been demonized, which it should. Both of them should be. So again, these people are paying money. It's kind of like imagine us still sharecropping right now. That's what that would be like. Imagine people that
yeah,
live in
it's sad.
America today still sharecropping, and people just don't. That's what pisses me off when we talk about all this issues that we talk about here, and maybe in a little more of a comfortable sort, just a little bit more. But the idea is, if we fight for other people in around the globe, it'd be easier for people to hear our cries more because now we need to fight for each other. Is what I'm trying to get at. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Dr. King's words, and I think that's where we need to develop more as African Americans. We need to develop more of that mindset than
Mhm.
just talk about me, me, me. Oh, look what just happened to me. Because we see what's happened to us. Everybody gets that, but how are we fighting for the Palestine? How are we building coalition? If we're not building coalition and we're just trying to fight ourselves, and everybody's helping us out, but we never seem to help everybody else out. Then how good is really our fight? So
No,
that's what that's
Okay.
I disagree with that because, well, well, maybe not for the Palestinians. They might err on the side of the Israelites because of their Christian overview, and our country is pro-Israel, and our government was responsible for Israel actually um, gaining land and independence, so-called. So we there are a lot of issues, and the thing is, there are a lot of issues. We have issues. We have
Yeah.
issues. But
Yes.
overall, what I'm finding is the ability to move in self-esteem, the ability to move in self-confidence. When you're faced with a foreign entity, why do we shrink back? Why do we feel that we cannot strike for ourselves, or we can't do a deal that is in the interest of
Mo-
the people?
yeah.
And we see this replicated over and over and over again. And then you have leaders like Paul Kagame of Rwanda and in Zimbabwe. Um, you know who I'm talking about? Robert. Oh my God, I love this man so
Mugabe.
much. Yeah,
Mugabe.
Mugabe. Uh, he's
Yeah, Mugabe.
demonized in the West. He's demonized in the West because he truly believed in taking back what the foreign structures had taken and giving it back to the people, especially since it was stolen from the people in the first place. Restoring what belongs to the people so they can make their way. Um, he was the king, I mean, he was the president of Zimbabwe. And under the colonizers, Zimbabwe was one of the leading producers of produce, fruits and vegetables. But the whole stigma of Africans being farmers and agriculturalists led people away from it. But this is how the colonizers made their money, through agriculture. So when he gave those farmlands back to the people, like, I don't want to do this. I have a college degree. I want a college degree. And now I believe the latest out of Zimbabwe is that since Mugabe move those people off their lands, that the now president wants to pay them reparations for stealing the land, making multi-billions of dollars off the land, and then had to leave the land, and still the African farmer that originally lost the land and his children and their children have nothing.
Yeah,
What are the African leaders thinking?
that's crazy. That is crazy. But yeah, I just want to
A lot of them are
yeah.
really not thinking. A lot of them are just trying to find out. You can ask the same question: what are our black leaders here thinking? It's just on a worse level over there, because you would think they would have a little more pride over there, since they've not. Since there's no presence of somebody right next to them every day, putting pressure on them every day. They don't have white policemen. They're not afraid about being stopped on the street by a white cop and being brutalized or being killed. So they don't have that much of an excuse. But you ask the same thing: what are our black leaders doing? What are they thinking? I mean, I started one of the first time I joined the show. One of the things I brought up was the idea of the Congressional Black Caucus meeting with African nations. It's not. It's something they can easily do. It's something that
Mhm.
would be on the low hanging fruit for them. But but they ain't do it. They would never do something like that.
Well, that's yeah. I just want to touch up on it because I was like, man, it's deeper than what teaching Mayo and what they're discussing. So you know what? That's going to be for us to talk about more on the Wednesday show. I think this is something that we need to start putting out to people because it's almost like the same thing that's happening here in the States, but what's going on in Africa is just disgusting to me. I mean, it's just downright disgusting, where
The
they sit there.
the major
Go ahead,
difference
teach.
between the diaspora and the African countries is that they have the power, they have the money, they have the land, they have the resources. We barely have the space in which we dwell. We don't
Right.
have the land, the resources. Nobody in the African American community is signing contracts to give somebody all the oil in their backyard. That's not happening because
Right.
we don't have that land. Now the Caribbean, they're under the same thing. Paying that tribute to France and even the Bahamas to the Queen of England. I believe they just said that I can't think of the phrasing, but basically removing Queen Elizabeth as the head of their country.
Oh wow.
So
Wow.
when I heard that, I'm thinking, I thought that happened a long time ago, but it's a 2021 thing. And so the progress, I feel that when I say African, and I want you to understand that, I mean all those of Negro descent.
Yeah, it
So
is. It is. It is. It is.
no matter where
England,
you're born,
not French. Right? Sorry about that. The Bahamas was England, not French. Right?
yes.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry about that. I said it's French earlier. I meant that's the right. That's
But it's
England.
Haiti that was under the French. St.
Right.
Martin's, I think there were the Dutch East Indies. I mean, it goes on and on and
Mm.
on. And one history lesson. Now I'm gonna divert for 1 second, but going back to Haiti, Haiti was the very first African country in the diaspora to gain its independence under Toussaint Louverture. They were sugar manufacturers or processed sugar, and they shipped it overseas to Europe. That was the biggest money making island in all of the islands when it came to that sugar. But when the Africans or the Haitians took over the white power structure, systematically shut them out of the market. So now you hear, oh, Haiti is the poorest nation in the world. When once they had the great glory of France and Napoleon Bonaparte being its leader, that's when they had their wealth and their riches. And they just don't tell the story that had they kept the market the same way, Haiti would have thrived and still been great. But they shut off the market. They said if blacks are, blacks always grew it. But if blacks are in control of selling that raw material, we're not going to participate because that's where we make our money.
Mm.
So they shut them
Dang.
out of the market, and they demonized them and said that, Toussaint Louverture used voodoo. And by and large, it was not the voodoo that was created in Hollywood. But I want to say this to the testament of voodoo, of voodoo, and Toussaint Louverture. It was the God of their ancestors. It was their power. And if you look at the histories of all other countries in the islands and in South America and North America, there were many slave revolts, but only the ones that practiced their traditional African spirituality were successful in gaining their independence. All the others, they raised the Bible and prayed to Jesus and was captured before their plans could be implemented. So just want you to think about who was successful, how and why. Who was not successful, how and why.
Well, dang. And it's funny, and it just all correlates to the topic, take accountability and responsibility. And right now, Africa and their leaders are not taking too much of accountability or taking responsibility because it seems like to me they're getting the raw end of the deal, and it's by choice. Usually when you hear that statement, usually it's forced, but they are intentionally doing this, and it's crazy because I would think, kind of what Mayor was saying, you would think that the African leaders would stand firm, put their foot down, and be like, "Hey, you coming on our land? This is how it's going to go." And Twice, what you were saying, Tish, you were saying that it should have been not the country itself taking 10% and the contractor taking 90%. It should be flipped. I should be taking 90%, you taking 10% because you're a visitor, you're a foreigner, you don't live here, you wasn't born and raised here. You're here to do a service. And whatever you find, we're going to take 90%. It goes to us, the people of the country, and 10% is for your services. How it should go. So, man, I didn't know that Africa was, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it, pushovers like that. And having, China come in like that and just take over. And I thought the United States was terrible for doing that, but now you got China into play, and now they coming on in. It's just
Well, see, China looks very attractive because they're throwing money. The Europeans, they just came and killed you, named the land, and, they just took over with violence. The Chinese are coming in and say, "Oh, you're in debt, you need money. Okay, we have money. We'll give you money for this." And the things that they're targeting are the seaports and the forests. In Angola, I learned, the Asian has a wide variety of things that they will eat that the Angolans didn't eat. And that's one thing, the frogs or toads. And they were allowing the Asians people to come in and harvest these frogs and toads for free. So the frogs and toads had no value to the Angolan people. And the only thing they had to pay was shipping it out of the country. So they made shipping money, which everybody makes shipping money, but they could have put a dollar value on those animals because they were shipping them back to Asia or China for food. The Angolans, once they understood that Asians like to eat this, it had a value. And they should have started up their company. Okay, here, Asian man, I have 2 tons of frogs. We can ship them to you live or we can ship them to you dry. But you're going to pay me X number of dollars for my toes that you're gathering for free. So, fixing value, I tend to think that because Africa has an abundance of resources, it is their inheritance and it's taken for granted. You don't realize the value of it. And so when someone else said, hey, I eat that, it tastes good, I can grill them, put some seasoning on them, I know what to do with it.
Right.
But the African just say ding, 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 ding. They say, okay, well, you can get them for free because we don't need them.
It just don't register. I got you. And speaking of that, we're gonna go take a commercial break. Back to your corners, and then when we come back, we gonna get on to this, talk about this Kwame Brown situation.
It's Kwame Brown. You've been Stephen A. when he said Kwame.
Kwame, okay, gotcha. Yeah,
that's what Stephen A. calls. It's called Kwame. Like trying to be funny about his name and all that. But
shoot, anyway, hey, thank you for correcting me because I don't want him to come at me because. So yeah, we gonna get into that when we come back. So we're gonna get this started from off the top on how this all got started because so let me be clear. The reason why I'm not gonna show the Stephen Jackson version of this because Stephen Jackson and Mr. Brown actually talked and they squashed it. Now I'm not gonna get on too much of the clout chasers that's sitting there reposting all these videos with no context or anything like that. So we're going to show not this whole video, but we're going to show you what led to Mr. Brown venting all his frustrations out, and which I myself applaud him.
Kwame Brown.
How do you think Kwame Brown feels when you say Kwame?
Do I get to answer this, or are these rhetorical questions?
Sure, go ahead.
Do I get to answer it, or are they just rhetorical questions?
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something right now. Kwame, all right, I'm going to tell you why I say Kwame Brown or Horacio the Slava Medvedenko. I'll tell you why. Because you're Kwame Brown. You're 7 feet tall. You're the #1 overall draft pick, okay? You come into this league, you came in without a jump shot. You came in without the ability to rebound. You came in without the ability to do nice footwork, to pass, to rebound, to defend, to score points, or whatever the case may be. And it's a decade later, and you're still that dude. You never worked and put forth your due diligence in order to take advantage of the privileged opportunity that you were in. And when I see that level of consistency as it pertains to an aptitude, I'm going to call somebody out. If a dude is playing like garbage, you don't sit there and point out he's playing like garbage.
Of course
you don't
I
sit
do,
there and
but-
point out how he's not living up to expectation.
I don't want to get away from what we're talking about because that's what makes this.
Oh,
great.
I'm staying
I
on the point. I'm
appreciate
right
this
here.
forum, But
I'm right here.
there's a difference between reporting what you see in the box score at the game or calling someone a scrub. Like, if I make
But he is a
that-
scrub.
Not if he's a scrub.
And you know it.
Kwame Brown may be a scrub compared to Shaquille O'Neal.
Not all.
And if he's able to maintain one of those jobs for 10 years, there's no way he can be a scrub.
Relatively, he's a scrub.
No,
What?
He
What?
can't be.
Are you, did you just say that with a straight face? Did you just say that with a straight
do you
face?
Do you guys realize that somebody's paying him millions of dollars to play basketball?
Unfortunately, they are.
Jalen, answer my question.
Why do you
Jalen
think?
Rose,
Why
answer
do
my
you think?
question.
Why do you think the guy that's 10 through 15 on the bench is able to have a
Jalen.
long career?
Answer my question.
He's got to have some
Jalen,
skill
hold on,
set.
Skip,
But I
hold
think
on,
they're
Skip.
saying
Jalen Rose.
relative to the other players. Stephen A. is not going to stop till you answer it. So
Hello.
go ahead, Stephen A.
Hello.
All right, so
Hello,
we're just going to. So basically, y'all just gotta.
No,
take
it's important that you got that part because I saw this whole thing. Right? It's important that you got that part in. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I like I said, I was going to show all the videos. So y'all already see all the things that Stephen A. Smith said about him. Now, throwing out the sports factor, I'm saying like this. This is basically getting your hand caught in the cookie jar. When you sitting there and you talking about me, you know how I ain't this, how I ain't that, and then when I catch you, now all of a sudden, oh, woe is me, I was just doing my job. What is your take on this, Mel? What do you think? Because I also got the reply video, which I am going to say it got a lot of cuss words up in there, so brace yourself. So heads up and warning. That's also to you, Cheat Shoes. So Mel, so just seeing that, what is the first thing you're thinking?
Well, I mean, it took me a while to really get the story. I found out about Kwame's response and all that after Charlemagne gets apologized, and that's where I started digging in, like what's been going on. Because I don't follow popular culture. I'm trying to make my own money. For anything, I ain't got time to do all that. But once I found out about all this stuff, then I'm like, dang, because I play sports, and I'm a big sports fan. So it's hard for me to not dig back in and find out what's going on. So anyway, to jump to Stephen A. is like the.
Sorry, hold on, real quick. I'm sorry. I don't know why it doesn't. Go ahead. No, you good. You good. Now,
so, also Stephen A. and I've always So let me first put that he's a frat brother, and he recently became a frat brother. Younger than I am in a frat, but still, he's a frat brother. So I say all this with due respect, to the fraternity and to him being a part of the fraternity. But outside that, Stephen A. I've never been a fan of his. I've always thought he's one of the folks. You know how people used to say Candace Owens is? Like she's trying to, like she knows she's wrong, but she's doing it just because she wants to get fans. That's what people say.
Yeah.
I still don't believe that she knows what she's doing. Meaning that I think that she actually believes all the things that she says. So so I'm different when it comes to Candace. I still think that she knows what she's saying, or she's not. I think she believes what she's saying. She's just not using it to get money and as in calculated or premeditated, so to speak. I think Stephen A. in this sense, I think what he does in ESPN and all that stuff, he comes in with that. Then him and Jason Whitlock, whatever, they both
Mhm.
know that if they say this enough, that white America, with the racist part of white America, the way that those people will watch and they'll be like, oh yes, those thugs, those this, So they try to be as doggish as they can be to us as black men. And I don't know what they when they talk about basketball, women basketball. I don't know what they do. And I admit I don't watch that much women basketball, but like so, not for any reason, but just because I just don't watch it. Um, but I don't know what they say to those sisters. But I definitely know for brothers, he hates on LeBron James. Or anybody who's doing well, he hates on him. He hates on it's just like he's always when there's something like between. They ask him who's better between Brett Favre and Donovan McNabb. He's Brett Favre. It's always like any kind of debate where you think that it would be something where most of the majority of black people will be on one side and white folks be on the other side. He wants to be that voice of white folks so that he can get more ratings and more fans so they can keep watching him. So that being said, when he started talking about this guy, I didn't even think about the fact that the guy was 17. He came into the league at 16, 17. When the guy started responding back to him and saying that I was a child and I was a teenager, I feel like Stephen A. should actually be suspended now. If anything is cancel culture, it should be now the cancel culture. I mean, because what he did was abuse and bully a young teenager for a long time, and because we were enjoying his theatrics of oh yeah, how he does all the stuff he does, because we enjoy that so much, we forgot about the fact that right in front of us a young black man is being bullied and being bullied nationally by a guy that everybody's watching on TV, a grown man in his 40s and 50s and all that, bullying a 17, 16, 18-year-old young man. So, I mean, just to start on Stephen A., because we're not even going to Charlamagne and the rest of them yet, I think he's the worst of all the people that we've talked about. I think Stephen Jackson, you talk about him too, he's horrible too. A grown man slagging, smoking weed, and all that stuff. He won't talk about a young man. Him and the other guy, they think they got the #1 podcast in the nation, whatever.
Oh, Matt Barnes. Yeah, I know you're talking about Matt Barnes.
Yeah. Just stop it. But Stephen A. is just horrible. And this proved how horrible he is. I never paid attention to the fact that he was talking about Kwame Brown, the young 17, 18-year-old. But now that the young man put it out there, I can't even look at him with a good eye anymore, saying he's a good guy.
Got you.
Until I apologize.
Teach, you got anything to add? Because I don't want you to feel like you just in the catbird seat just watching all that. Teach got her.
The wings.
Teach got her.
I forgot if you saw.
Teach over there, she enjoyed the popcorn, but yeah, Teach, it's gonna get more entertaining. So, ladies and gentlemen, the response to Stephen A. about the show, once again, it has a lot of foul language, so please.
Real quick. If I may add, and Kwame made a great point. And this is something that people don't never make enough. He played 11 to 13 years in the league, being paid over $60 million over that time period. That's a career. Stephen A. was sitting there calling him a bum. Stephen A. is like me. He played college ball. I played college ball. It'd be like me calling Michael Jordan or Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice, those are the great ones. But maybe like me calling somebody who played like Marvin Harrison or somebody who played many years in the league but did not win a big ring, whatever, did not do something big. Me calling them a bum because I have a network. There's payment to do that. When I know I tried to get in the NFL, Stephen A. tried to get in the NBA, he could not. Kwame did. And you got the nuts call this young. So it's so upsetting on so many different levels. I leave it at that.
So let's go ahead and hear what the response was. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, brace yourself.
When you right, you fucking right. Stephen A., come here, bitch. Stephen A, come here, bitch. I'm not gonna let you out of this shit like that, boy. Oh no, bitch. You won't be taking no high road, motherfucker. You talked about mama's only son, not mama's only son, but you talked about my mama's son, motherfucker, for over.
Apologies about that. Something happened to the YouTube channel real quick. Hold on real quick.
Mama's only son, not mama's only son, but you talked about my mama's son, motherfucker, for over. Name is Rachel Nichols. You was talking about, somebody keep telling me you were talking about.
Apologies about that. The freaking video for some reason just cut off, so I don't know what is going on. But as you can hear how he felt, I'm let it marinate on what he actually wanted to say. My take is I am not a big first take fan. I don't watch ESPN like that. You got people that watch sports shows religiously. When you go into a barber shop, you will see a sports show on 9 times out of 10 it's ESPN. Or if you're sitting in, maybe a Burger King in Walmart, 9 times out of 10, they're either going to have the news or they're going to have sports. And like I said, 9 times out of 10 is going to either be ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I really believe that players, definitely black players, get a lot of they are scrutinized almost every day. You talk about LeBron James, where he talks about, it's scary. He is scared as a black man. He recognized I could be one of the greatest basketball players of all time for this generation, and I still get pulled over and get reminded of who I am in their eyes. His freaking Los Angeles home got vandalized with the M word. Let's not forget about that. But people in the same breath would get angry and get mad, and basically, like what's her name? Laura Ingram would say, "Shut up and dribble." And to have another brother like Stephen A. Smith, and Stephen A. Smith's not the only one. You mentioned his name. The other guy. The fat roly-poly one.
Oh, Woodlock.
Yeah, and do you have brothers like Woodlock who will find any chance to bash a brother, any chance to just say, well, you know what, you just need to stop making it political. But you keep going on these political shows, sit there saying, how political it's gotten, how America should be, but then when athletes start to say stuff about it, now all of a sudden they just need to shut up. So for him to finally, for Mr. Brown, yes, I'm calling him Mr. Brown, to come out and say his displeasure and tell him, look, enough's enough. I was the first round pick all through the NBA. I played on a team with Michael Jordan, which he disliked, by the way. I know a lot of clout chasers already got that video up on YouTube, so go ahead and find it for yourselves. Where he didn't like freaking Michael Jordan. I honestly think Michael Jordan sabotaged his career.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
literally
sabotaged. It's coming out now that happened.
Yeah, and so I took that personal. I'm going to see what he says about Brown. And honestly, we need more players like him, not off the court, but also on the court too. Because I think a lot of these players just take too much from these reporters, these so-called analysts, junk, to the point they bash them so much that they get mad because they wish it was them. that they wish that they could take their spot and be that star, to be that one to have these endorsement deals, to have all these fans, to have a big, a whole bunch of fans. But let me go ahead and have the next best thing and just talk about these people, envy them, come up with some stats on like, oh yeah, he's 4-10 from the floor. I'm just making up stuff, and sometimes I even think they do that too, just so they could just take a dig at them. And then when athletes will come back at them and say something, now all of a sudden they're rude, they're unruly, they're ungrateful, they're spoiled, that's the elite of the basketball, all that stuff, and uppity. I've been hearing that as of late. And I just wish Brown was still in the league with this same attitude, even though I know the NBA would have probably kicked him out or whiteballed. I ain't say blackball, whiteballed him out the NBA. But it's just a lot of them that just play the game. And I hate hearing that, play the game. And then going back, go ahead, man.
What really upsets me more is like knowing that on the clip that you saw earlier, what's the name of the brother that played in the University of Michigan and that was playing in the league as well? That was he was talking to Stephen A. Then they never.
Jalen Rose. Jalen Rose part of the Fat Five.
Jalen Rose was correcting him as a player that if you're gonna say that, I don't know if he's short enough to the point where Jalen Rose said, if you're gonna say this, you can say somebody can say this to me because I was not Michael Jordan level and I played so many years in the league, and somebody can say I'm a scrub, and they will be far from the truth because everybody knows that's not true. But if you call this guy a scrub because he comparing him to, he said, who are you comparing him to? Now, how you gonna call him a scrub? He played 11 years in the league, in the NBA, and he's telling Stephen A. And Stephen A. is still like, oh, he's a scrub. And I guess he didn't want to dish Stephen A. That's what I get why he didn't tell him. Well, what did you do? I mean, no, because pretty much what he was trying to tell him is, I'm a player. You dogging another player in front of me, someone that put his life out there, and you dogging him, calling him a scrub when you don't know how to do anything but just sit and talk. And Stephen A. and didn't get him and Skip like, oh yeah, he's a scrub. Oh yeah, they paid him all that money. They shouldn't be paying him that money. But well, you're not the owner, you're not the manager, you're not the general manager. I mean, you got dogging a young man, a 17-year-old, because he don't have a voice. Like you got the platform that like ESPN and whatever ABC is giving y'all. And that's what if you listen to his rant, meaning Kwame Brown's rant, they became a rant later on, and it became a very vulgar rant. But I don't care about that vulgarness. He's just keeping it real the way he knows, and he's frustrated over 20 years of these people talking about him like he's nothing, like he's like some tool or something. So finally he has an outburst, and everybody's making a deal out of it. But I don't blame him at all. Like you said, I don't.
Yeah, and not me either. And I think more players, not just off the court, but also on the court, need to be more vocal to these reporters, because I believe it's a criticism necessary, yes, but not all the time. It's not all the time. It's just a simple fact of somebody could just have a rough night. There's times where LeBron James, like just this last game he just played, he didn't play his full potential. Yes, so he deserved the criticism. But even when he does what he's supposed to do and you still criticize him, like, come on, man. You got to have a balance. You got to keep the same. I've been preaching this on the show. You got to keep the same energy on both ends. You got to give the person's props when it's due, and then give them the criticism when it's deserved. And then don't go too far with it neither. And get mad when they criticize you. And I'm talking to the reporters and the analysts. And this is where Stephen A. Smith makes his money. This is where Skip Bayless makes his money. This is where who's another columnist that really gets on my nerves? Because Whitlock, he already got fired. So I don't care what anybody says about Whitlock. Whitlock is out the job. He just got a YouTube channel. Whoop-dee.
I didn't know he's out of job. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He used to have a show. His show used to be called "Speak for Yourself."
No. I didn't. I'm saying I didn't know he's out of that job. Is what I'm saying. I knew he had a show.
Yeah, because he was trying to tell people, well, I couldn't. I tried to negotiate my contract, but they wasn't giving me my numbers. No, dude, you got fired. you got fired because you are not that big a name. You always try to stay controversial, but that's for a different story. But people like him who just try to make themselves relevant and worry about their own brand. And I just want the NBA athletes to literally stand up for themselves. Stop taking that humble road, like I'm checking on chin, and just be like, I'm just here to answer questions. Like Marshawn Lynch did it good too. Marshawn was just like, look,
Yeah,
I'm just here because he said I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I don't want to make it an analyst versus player type deal. I mean, I still think there's integrity of the game in the sense that he getting paid all his money. He should really talk to to the reporters and all that stuff. What I'm saying is that they have no right to insult a human being. Like
right.
If you even if somebody is sorry, I mean, like they a bomb, whatever you want to call it. They say that they're not that good. I mean, or they'll call them bomb, like I guess when you start using derogatory words, that's when I have a big problem. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if those derogatory words are like more like saying that somebody is not worth nothing, but that means that you not only talk to that person, you talk to the head coach, and you talk to that general manager, and none of you as a pundit, you need of any of those. I mean, you need of those. You're not the general manager, you're not the coach. So who are you to tell them? And they're getting paid. Obviously, the company don't want to lose money just to pay somebody to do nothing. So they must see something in this. They see the value in these players. You are sit on TV, the idea of calling them a bum, it just bothers me to the core, especially when General Rose stood up for him and he was still talking back to General Rose. Who is Stephen A. Smith? Who is he? He got famous off using big words that he can't really use right. He kind of sound like D.L. Hughley. I mean, and I don't mean to take a shot at another frat brother, but D.L. is another brother that uses they use a lot of big words, but when they use it, I kind of cringe a little bit. It's like they kind of, you can tell that somebody's forcing, they're forcing the word to come into the sentence to make a point. Without, you can tell, and I'm looking at well, you ain't got to do that. Just be cool.
And speaking of that, so here's the one that really, this is the most recent story. This is the Charlemagne one that you was talking about. This is the one that I sent you, Mail. So here's the one that everybody is talking about right now. So let me go ahead. Hopefully, I don't have the same issues like I had last.
Tell y'all something. Leave Kwame Brown alone. I don't know if y'all know, but you could do a little research. Kwame Brown was born in Charleston, South Carolina. I don't think I've ever met Kwame, but I know a lot of his family. His family lived in Moss Corner, South Carolina. His father's name was Willie Brown. I don't know how many kids Willie Brown had. I don't know how many siblings Kwame Brown got, but I went to school with his sister, and I went to school with one of his brothers. Let me tell y'all something. Kwame's father in the 90s, I remember this story. He beat a woman with an axe handle. It was his girlfriend. And the rumor was he buried her alive. He buried her in the area that I grew up in, if I remember correctly. I've been trying to call my dad since yesterday to confirm the whole story because I literally forgot about this until yesterday. But the woman died and he got arrested. If he's still alive, he's in prison for life because he got caught because he left South Carolina after the murder and came back for his paycheck. Let me tell you something else. His other brother, I don't know if him and Kwame were close, but his other brother shot his baby mama several times and then killed himself. That was like in 2008. And his other brother, Kwame's other brother, just went to jail for murder like 3 years ago. All of this you can Google. I'm saying all that to say, leave Kwame alone. That man has been quiet for 20 years. He don't bother nobody. Clearly all that, all that he's a bust stuff gets to him, and you don't know what people are going through or have been through, but I've seen folks snap for less, and it looks like, Kwame is snapping. And if you look at the history of men in his family, you would know his men in his family have a history of snapping. Leave Kwame.
All right, so before we jump on in, I want Tisha to come on in here. What do y'all think about when y'all first hear that?
I thought he made a good point, but I think it's a disservice to bring up what his father and other brothers and all that family history. He made a good point with it, but I don't like that he brought it up and then he's making a suggestion based upon what his brothers and father done, that he could be in the same position right now.
What about you, ma'am?
Well, I mean, I guess the part that we've not talked about is his apology. So, but I guess I'll leave that alone. But I just saw this right before I logged on tonight because I remember I asked you to send me in the group what the video. So I made sure I watched the video before I got on, knowing they were going to be talking about this. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was horrible because it's adding and piling onto all the stuff that the same guy that's been bullied by almost the whole country or whatever, and it's almost like it was adding to it, by saying that, oh, now he's talking about his family stuff and people now know about his family, now they're afraid of his family. But at the same time too, he was kind of giving them street cred, which I mean I'm not saying street cred is that great, but I'm just saying it was saying like don't mess with him, unless you want to get blood in the nose, whatever. Like that's not the right way to be. Violence is never the right way. And he's talking about his family is so violent, he kind of making him sound like he's product of just violence. I mean, and so I don't see how Charlemagne is the least offensive out of all the people that battered Kwame. I don't think his intention was not to offend him. His intention was he was pretty much he was actually doing what we say right now is to leave him alone, telling people that don't bully this man. This man actually has family that can get you. But within all that, even though he still had to apologize because Kwame got back at him. He Kwame took a shot at him after that. How dare you do that? So even Kwame might even have his own issue, but but he was sitting there silently when people start poking at him, and now we can see some of his issues because it's kind of almost scary to see the things that he's saying and the words he's using. That he's kind of like a little bit on. It sounds like he's unhinged a little bit now. Now, don't come for me, Kwame. And not that you was watching this, but I'm just saying, if I'm supposed to be analyzing what I've been saying, he's kind of like almost maybe he's imploding and exploding at the same time because all this stuff has been for way too much and nobody did anything to any of these people that are doing this thing. And now the way he reacted lately, it's just super hard. I mean, it's super hard, and it's like who needs to be that hard? Hard in the mind and the heart, But when somebody's been picking on you for so long, I can see how somebody might be that hard in the mind. But Charlemagne, I think he's probably the least offensive out of all them. I think the two other basketball players and Stephen A, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. They're not good men.
Yeah, so I'm in between because I see what both you and teachers talking about because I think he should have just worded it differently. I believe he should have just said, hey, the things that I heard about Brown, y'all need to leave him alone. That's the best thing I can tell you. Just leave him alone because he's not somebody you can mess with, and he should have just left it alone there. Knowing Charlemagne, because to tell y'all the truth, I don't watch The Breakfast Club from point A to point B from start to finish. I just watch snippets. And there are times where I believe Charlemagne should have went in, but he doesn't. And then there are times where it's just like, Charlemagne, don't do it. Just leave it alone. This is one of those times where you should have left it alone. And he's the one that always preach, keep the same energy. You ain't kept the same energy this time, man. You took it too far because going on with Teach saying, you should not have to bring up the man's family history like that. If it's true or not, now that's something like what you said, Mel, that adds layers on it now. Now you add more fumes to the fire. All this time you thought it was water that you were throwing on the fire was nothing but gasoline. More gasoline. Keep in mind,
there's a good chance that this thing is a fact because he's saying that if you Google it, you can see it that they're facts. So obviously, yeah. I respect them that I think they do their research and all that stuff. They're a very beautiful show. I think I like Breakfast Club. They're the second team to our team. In my mind.
Yeah. Same here. I believe we keep it real. We keep it genuine. Right. We don't hold back on anything. But yeah,
they don't They don't get the global views like we get on our. We gotta teach our. We got the whole African watching us.
Yeah, I know. We got the Queen Mother up on him. What can y'all say? Huh?
Absolutely. And we don't have to apologize to nobody. Either because if they're missing that, or because or because they just like us. They think Kwame like I don't know those guys. Or maybe might be like hey. I like it. They're cool guys. Right? They ain't taking that much of a shot at me. I kid about that, but no, seriously. I think that we kind of have to be. I mean, the guys saying the fact they're on the radio show. They got to give facts. They do research, So if you do research, why not give it? The problem I have is that him not thinking about the sensitivity of it and saying after they said that, like all these are just stuff that's alleged or whatever, something I found online, and maybe putting something around like don't be going on making fun of them. I mean, I guess he can't control what people are gonna do with information. He's just giving information on there and saying that be careful because this is what. But I think that when he says be careful, it's implying that they might come get you, if you mess with them. Which that implication is that him implying that is more like saying that. It's just kind of wrong. There's something wrong about it, And like I said, he apologized. So I've never met a guy. I mean, another brother like that I respect, like I respect him. I mean, he did today is unheard of. I've not met nobody like that as brothers, because most brothers they get excited and defensive and stuff. They're ready to fight, like whenever they do wrong, somebody confront them with their wrong. He owned it. I mean, I've never seen anybody own like
Yeah, and I give Charlamagne his props for that. But if he would have worded it differently, I mean, yes, you can look it up. And then to add on to the family situation, Kwame didn't even know anything about his damn brother. That was the sad thing. I wanted to show that video, but I respect for Teach and I respect for everybody else. All his videos got a lot of cussing up in there and all that stuff. He also dragged the whole entire Breakfast Club too as well.
Oh really?
So yes, he did. I just show you the video. I'm not gonna show you the video, but ladies and gentlemen, this is right there. This is it right here. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to look up the video and look at it for yourself, this is it right here. Like I said, I'm just doing our respect for Teach and everybody else who's watching the show. It got a lot of profanity filled up in that in that video. But he drags the Breakfast Club. I mean, even Angelique Yee wasn't safe, so he even dragged her too. He dragged everybody. And so Angelique didn't even say anything. That's the sad thing. So that's what led to Charlamagne apologizing. I think the apology was more on the credibility of not just him, but the show itself. I put my team in this situation. Now I got to take the responsibility and accountability.
Well, he didn't say that. I take it what he said it. I take it for what he said. He's an honorable man today. He got the honorable man award. He called himself a donkey every day. He apologized. He called himself the donkey every day. He apologized, and I've never seen an apology that he owned every part of what he did wrong. Talked about the mental, and because if I saw the first Charlamagne video, I would have not thought deep into the fact that maybe if now he can cause more problem for the family, and some people might be getting picked on and all that kind of stuff. Your family, your dad is here, your stepbrother is in jail. I mean, quite frankly, I didn't think that it's going to happen like that. But yes, it could happen, and Charlamagne owned all the things that can happen negatively from what he said. And, that he might cause more trauma to the family. So I mean, the fact that he can even own that, I'm like, who is this Gandhi? And the brother Charlamagne Gandhi. Pretty cool.
Yeah, he owned up to it, but it's just shucks that Brown didn't even know half of the stuff that Charlamagne was saying, and so that's what he was really ticked off about. He was like, I didn't even know anything about that. The rest of the stuff I knew about, but what you were saying about my father and my father I never even met, I'm found out through you. So yeah, I can see that as being very, very disrespectful, so I understood with him, coming out and saying all the things he said. But we was going to talk about the Joe Budden, but unfortunately Beast Johnson didn't come on. He had other engagements. So hopefully he come on Wednesday and talk about it. But any final thoughts on this? Because I need to get y'all to the segments. So, teach any final word on anything we talked about today.
Um, mm, let's think better.
Yeah, gotcha. What
What
about you,
was
man?
that? I didn't hear what you said. I mean, well, I just think that we need to be more careful as a community and pay attention to people's ages and their sports games, especially the kids that come from high school, even kids in college when they're playing college football. And these guys talk about these kids in college. Allow them a wishing and wish that they did what these kids were doing or did. Allow them a mad because they're more older than this young man and they're hating. But the best way they can hate is to try to put it in a very articulated manner that these kids are not this and they're not that and all that. And they need to have somebody to consistently check them to remind them that your job is to report, give us off the statistics, what you can pretend about the future, but do it in a very respectful manner. You owe them respect. You know, you get paid by a network that we're supposed to have some respect. So you owe the players respect. Now, people say they get all these ball players, they make all this money, they can take anything. I do believe that they make more money than they should. The teachers are making all the money that the ball players are making, but until society fixes that, don't sacrifice or crucify this young man and woman. They're not the ones writing their own check. So don't because they're getting paid, don't hate on them and demonize them or dehumanize them. It's just annoying. And Stephen A should be checked, and the fact that he's not been checked enough in the sense of officially, it's a shame to where we with the country that we're in. It's a shame.
It is. But I'm gonna tell you what's not a shame. We're about to go to your lounge and have a nice drink, enjoy some blues music. What you got on tap for us tonight?
Man, I'm telling you, man. We're about to get in a minute. It's nothing like having just having some good old music. And this past weekend, what I did is actually that. On Sunday, me and my buddies, we got together. I mean, my buddies. This is they're like my big buddies. When I came out of college, these are the first man that I hung out with. They told me about Marcus Garvey and all the people, all the things I didn't learn in college about Black history. So Kojo, Bobby, O'Malley, Mel, brother Julius, those three brothers came to my house. We normally meet once in a while, every 3 months before COVID. But we've not seen each other since COVID. So this time we met, and we sat down, and I threw some meat on the grill. And at the end of the day, we kind of sat down there and I grilled, listened to Bobby Blue Bland, Jimmy Taylor. We listened to just blues. We listened to Sam Cooke. We were just talking about all the history, Black history, and all the stuff that's been going on. So it's fun. We got to find a way to do that once in a while. Just fellowship, like we fellowship on this show. We got to find a way to do it within our brothers and sisters that we love and that we fellowship with. So that's what we did. But I got a song from there. I'll wait till we get to the segment.
Oh, we can't wait. And Teach, what you got for us as we travel to Africa? What you got on tap? As she look.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the intro. Okay. Karibu means welcome. With the Kiswahili speaking people. Thai, the Teaching Artists Institute, which I am a Thai founding elder of Thai. We will be launching our very first Summer Learning Institute in Tanzania, June 7th through the 21st. If you can't get in on this trip, then we have one coming up in October that's going to explore all of Tanzania. And then in November, we're going to have the 5th annual Artisan Conference in South Africa. And I'm currently working with a gentleman out of the Gambia. I'm looking at putting a trip to the Gambia, which would actually be full circle for me because I began to travel to Africa, and the very first country we went to was Senegal and the Gambia. So this will be my first time since 1997 returning back to Senegal and Gambia. And that is slated for, I believe, March or April of 2022. So We have a lot of activities, a lot of countries that we can engage in. One of the things that I spotlight in my tours is that we look into the history of the people. We make connections with the people. It's one thing to go to an island and explore all the island, but you come back and you don't know anybody. With my tours, we connect with the people on the government level, the community level, and the academic level, and so forth and so on. So if you're interested in investing in land or in business, we can set you up with business partners. If you are just interested in just having fun, we're going to do that. We try to create lifetime experiences, not just, oh, I went here, I went there, but I went there and I became a part of the community. I made friends here that I can talk with, that I can email with, that we can share um, celebrations of life. Couple got married, I can be invited. Or they had their first grandchild and they named their grandchild after me, made me the godmother, and things like that. I connect people with people, real people on the ground, and that's the most rewarding experience that you can get when you travel with me.
Well, y'all gave us a lot there. We didn't even get to the segment yet, but I'm looking forward to it. So first, we're
You
gonna
don't want
hit
to
up.
ask him.
No, no, I was asking what y'all got on tap, what you got ready for us before y'all segments.
Oh, well, we already said it.
Yeah, I know you already did, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just play your intros. Y'all just said tune in on Wednesday. Then.
Well, hold on. I got my music. I'm about to play my music and give a little message. You know. So,
All right, cool. So you're the first one that is up. I had yourself for being
I got you.
up here first. So all right, I'm already. We about to come into your lounge. You're already about to call last call. Like damn. But that let's go ahead and step in.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love when that little music plays. And I love when this music plays too. This is one of my favorite. I don't know if this is the second time I'm doing this or not, but I just love it so much. I'm not the most religious type, but there's something about Sam Cooke, you know, um, you know, touch the hem of his garments that gets me going, because it just makes me think about, and that's what the message is today. That as much as we all have a higher being that we believe in, that what gets us to that is our spirit and our soul. And there's something about just being spiritual and having a soul and having connection with your soul. And if you do have that, you can imagine the struggles and trauma that we've been through in this nation and other nations across the land, across the sea and land, and across the globe, all the way in Africa. And as a black person, I'm just worried about some of those black folks who think that it's just about them. We have to start thinking again that it's not just about us anymore. How we kill each other, how we hit on each other, how we fight each other. You gotta have some kind of heart for the struggle that we deal. We are the most battered people. We are the ones that struggle the most. You can hear struggle in my brother's voice. You can, and that's what the soul is. The cries and the songs. You can tell that, and that's what gospel music came from. That's what soul, as we know it, comes from. That's what rhythm and blues. That's what blues comes from. It's from having those feelings and crying them out. The James Taylors and Bobby Blue Blend, and the way they cry these things out. It's important to understand that we have to keep finding a way to love each other. And love overshadows everything else. And if we just try to think deeper than what's flesh, which is soul and spirituality, we can realize that we all have those things, and the most we can do is to connect with another one and try to do well to another soul when we see another soul. Because most of the time, or really, as much as we know in life, that's the only time we encounter those kind of souls. When they're gone, they're gone. They're gone to maybe another part of life, or they just gone. Nobody knows that. But we all have our perspective on where they go, but nobody really knows. So it's important that when you on this planet to treat each other well, and to think about all the struggles, and that people have faced, and how you can ease them of the trouble. Oh, well, that's it. Sounds like another one of Sam Cooke, which is going to be one of the songs in the future. Somebody ease my mind. That's you can tell I know a lot of his songs, but yes, and he talks about in that song about how he wish somebody would ease his mind from the trouble. So it's just you got to think to time, and try to see if we can travel with history. The struggles and pain that we've dealt with, but we still got through. In spite of that, we still made it through. And it might not be us, it might be our successors, it might be the generations after us, it might be the stories that we wrote that people are still reading, it might be the stories that we wrote that people have now turned into movies, it might be different things that we've done, it might be the names of our names on the plaque that we've left behind. But we were here. We dealt with the struggle, and we in spite of the struggles, we still persevered and moved on. I hope everybody perseveres and move on. And I love you guys all where you guys at tonight.
First off, I want to thank Sky Zone Society for being the sponsor of this show, and also like to thank my panel for being on the show and giving their thoughts on the topics at hand. And like I said, if you got to start the week off good. If Monday is great, your whole week is going to be great. So my final thought is this. Kwame Brown, hopefully I said your first name right. I mean, Mayo, he corrected me and all that stuff. So my invitation to you, for you to come on this show. Now, I know Charlemagne, when he made his apology, he also reached out to you to come on the show, which I don't know if you accepted, but hopefully you did, because honestly, to tell you the truth, that's basically suicide. And what I mean by suicide is they're going to you're giving them every ammunition to tear away from your character, to paint a narrative of you, and have an agenda against you, which will make things look worse on you. For anybody who's watching this show, who've been doing snippets and all that stuff, snippet this part. I am inviting him to come on this show, a platform where we don't have to worry about, as he like to say, the white folks and white daddies or anything like that. We answer to nobody. We are a show that goes beyond keeping it real. We are a show that talk about Black issues, not only just political, but also in the sports world as well. And if you want to come to a platform where you don't have to worry about looking over your shoulder or wondering why your YouTube channel, because I heard that YouTube is also trying to take away your videos, try to take your videos down one by one. You don't have to worry about that here. I am extending an invitation for you to come on this platform to express how you feel, answer questions from us, answer questions from fans, and really express how you feel on a platform where you're not just recording it and just uploading on YouTube, and it's in YouTube's fate to keep the video or to throw it away. So, Mr. Brown, if you want to come on a platform where your words and what you feel don't get taken out of context, come here to #FaithBlack. Go to our Facebook page, message us, and one of us will get with you, and we will pick a time and we will pick a date. Don't go on ESPN. Don't go on Fox Sports 1. You be playing into their game if you try to go on their shows. And I know a lot of people probably reached out to you and all that stuff, but I'm telling you, they just trying to do it for clout. For us, we want you to tell how it is and how you really feel. without worrying about somebody using you. The invitation is on the table. And with that, I yield the floor. Teach you good?
Good evening. It seems like my screen is frozen. I had a little clip that I wanted to show, and if I can get it in just 1 second, I'll share it with you. Oh my God. My computer is running very slow. I just wanted to introduce you to Professor Jocelyn. This is one of the ladies that I met when I was in the Cameroon, and she invited me over for dinner, and we were able to talk about some things, and I wanted to share that with you. So, I don't know, Darnell, did you get it? I shared it. Well,
I didn't
anyway,
receive it
it
yet.
was just a conversation that we were having, and in our roles in society. And like I said, one of the things I try to do is connect with scholars, academians in every country that I go in. I believe it's there now. So if you could play it, Danielle. I don't know. There it is. Okay, it starts out sideways, but it turns up.
The legacy is on you, among you, and within you. It's not a type of legacy that is written in the books. It's something that you have on you.
That's right.
And you cannot explain it. It's on you. That's why when people say, where are, I'm not an African, I used to tell to my friend on African American, you don't have to say that you are not African or you are not African. You don't need to explain nothing because you are African.
Yes.
You swim on Africa. You're completely swallowed by it.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
something that it's like that
It's
you
not a
feel it.
choice.
It's not a choice. It's something that you feel. You feel it. You have
Yes.
it on you. That's why when you come to Africa, they don't explain you nothing. You always do your things like by yourself. You discover things by yourself.
Yes.
You don't have guide.
Right.
You don't have any guide. You are not a tourist here. You check, you find by yourself, you do everything by yourself. And the example is you. You came, you don't have your friends, but you are so free. You are everywhere. You talk to everybody as a brother, as person that you have seen for a while.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You don't feel foreigners. You don't feel strangers. You feel at home.
Yes.
You cannot explain it. You cannot explain it. It's the spirit of your ancestors that
Exactly.
vibrate on
Exactly.
you.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It is the spirit of the ancestors. I believe they have prepared me, and made me to be the way I am so that I may be able to be free
Of course.
and not be afraid and even trust. I learned how to trust
Amen.
um, through these adventures because each situation opens up a challenge or unforeseen circumstances that you have to work your way through.
Of course.
And when you work your way through, you say, wow. People will say, wow, you were brave. And I would say, I didn't have time to be scared. In some circumstances, you just become in the moment because that's what's needed for your very survival.
Amen. And this
So that's it. That was just me and Dr. Dessalines. She is the head of the African Women's Literature Department at the University of Yaoundé. So whenever I go to Cameroon, she always brings me in as a guest speaker, and I learn from the students learn from me. And we just have these exchanges about our lives and how we're moved and motivated by the spirit of the ancestors. So this is my final thought into Africa, and you can see how the people respond to me and how I respond to them. She is a lifelong friend. I just love my African people wherever they dwell, be it in the islands, be it on this continent, or be it on the African continent and even you. All right, I yield the floor.
Yes. My yielding statement would be that we just try to continue to love each other, keep trying to find more ways to stay productive, be more thoughtful, understand that being nice is not weakness. I think the best way I could have gotten this was when I was watching Scholars of Pimpernel, is I think the name of the film, and it's from a book, but my English instructor in at Eastmore High School in Columbus, Ohio, in my senior year had us write a paper about that movie. So we watched it, and I was one of her favorite, Dr. Petruzella. To actually make sure I mention her name, and I don't know where she's at, but she was pretty on the late side of her life at that time, probably in the 70s or so. And it's been about 10, 20, almost 20 years now, I would think. So I don't know. And I've asked about her a lot. So again, hopefully she's around and she's doing well. But I yield on that. But anyways, we watched that, and she pointed out to me one of the quotes that said in that movie that violence is not strength and compassion is not weakness. And she was just to her, I guess she's talking to another inner city youth and trying to tell him to make sure he stays in the pathway of being a nice guy, because I've always been this quiet, nice guy. And she was impressed by that, and she said she liked that about me. And I remember that day. Those are things that you remember, and things like that are things that younger children need to have in their mind and to need to carry along with them. So if anybody is listening tonight, my final thought is for us to be nicer, and understand that because you're nice does not mean you're weak, and because you're violent or because you're um, overly aggressive does not mean that you're strong. You find more strength sometimes in just silence, and more strength sometimes in just being kind enough to carry somebody else's burden on your back. So with that being said, I bid you guys good evening. I love you much, and keep loving the world.
Well. Another great show. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and as well as my panel once again. Pulled it through. Can't wait till Wednesday. With that being said, as for Anita Joe, aka Cheese, as for Mayo, thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a good one. Catch y'all later. Bye.
Remember